you must.
Hello, operator?
Hide if you can. Scream if you are able, but above all, if you are alone. Don't answer the phone.
I killed them all.
Don't answer the phone. Rated R.
TV commercials like that one exploiting the plight of women in danger, those ads have been saturating television for the past 2 years. And the summer and fall of 1980 are the worst yet. They signify a disturbing new trend at the movie box office, one we'll be discussing on this special edition of Sneak Previews. Across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And this is Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Thanks. It looks very inviting. Ouch.
Horror films have been a major part of the history of film since cinema became an industry. Films such as Dracula, The Wolfman, and Frankenstein were not only entertaining artistic achievements, but cultural phenomena as well. These characters are considered classics of American film.
Oh, it's nothing serious, just a small cut from that paperclip.
Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho changed the horror film genre forever. No longer were horror movie villains monsters off in Europe, they were people in America. A new subgenre began, the slasher film. A slasher film is characterized by the presence of a maniac who commits a series of grisly murders until he, or later she, is caught. While both men and women are the slasher's victims, women are dispatched in gory detail, whereas men are killed quickly and in ways that rarely put their bodies on display. No genre of film has left critics and filmgoers more polarized about its effect on cinema.
Here we have a quiet little motel, when in fact it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
Even Psycho, now lauded as an absolute classic, was originally a hit with, at best, mixed reviews. British critic C.A. Lejeune was so offended that she not only walked out before the end, but permanently resigned her post as a film critic for The Observer. Other negative reviews stated, a blot on Hitchcock's honorable career, plainly a gimmick movie, and merely one of those television shows padded out to 2 hours. But the general audience loved the film, and it was a box office hit, forcing critics to reconsider their opinions and therefore starting an incredible new trend with filmmakers. What happened after that could not have been predicted. By the 1980s, slashers were cultural hits. From Texas Chainsaw Massacre to Halloween, these highly violent, terrifying films featuring men murdering hypersexualized women were the talk of the film world. Was it well-conceived art or simply murder porn? The two most important film critics of the time, Roger Ebert and John Siskel, knew their side.
It's always the same. The girl is at home alone, the menacing attacker, the ringing telephone, the wide, frightened eyes. I think there's something terribly wrong when an image like that becomes the building block of an entire movie genre.
You know, a lot of people think that the battle has been won in Hollywood on films about women. They think that now women have parity with men, that there's strong women images in the films. Jill Clayburgh and an unmarried woman, Jane Fonda, in every picture she makes. Got it all wrong. Fonda and Clayburgh make one film a year, maybe, right? These films are coming out week after week, playing to millions of people, and the dominant image in American films today on women is not Fonda and Clayburgh. It's women like that, cowering in the corner, knives being brandished in their faces, being raped, being sliced apart. That's what's going on in American movies. That's why we're doing the show.
What is most interesting is how both right and wrong Ebert and Siskel turned out to be. The films they reference in most of this episode of Sneak Preview are now lauded as important films with historical American cultural references. It wasn't until the 1990s that some of their opinions began to show some truth. The 1990s was the time of Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and all of the slasher film sequels and teen death porn that Eber and Siskel unknowingly warned us to avoid. Whereas Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Stepfather, and The Hills Have Eyes satirize the American nuclear family and the lengths Americans go to keep that foundation, and whereas the cringeworthy I Spit on Your Grave depicted a woman empowering herself to take revenge into her own hands, films like I Know What You Did Last Summer depict, well, hypersexualized teens being punished because of a hit and run. It is most telling that the film many consider the best slasher of the 90s generally was made to poke fun at the entire subgenre.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no! Big no!
I'm a dead man.
Sex equals death, okay? Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. No, the sin factor. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
No genre polarizes film critics and audiences more than the slasher. That is the beauty of the slasher genre. It's ugly and violent, but never fails to incite conversation about American society. How many other film genres can say the same? There are reasons why so many gravitate towards these films, just as there are reasons why so many critics reevaluate their opinions of these movies decades later. Where's the slasher genre today? Well, it appears to have been slashed. If you Google modern slasher films, the most recent movie listed is from 2011. Scream 4. The genre appears to be as dead as Laurie Strode's Topless Friends. But is there hope? It appears as though we are currently in a horror revival period with films like The Babadook and Get Out. Maybe the slasher genre will catch up with its horror companions. Or maybe not.